This presentation is all about what we call athlete-centered coaching and effectively why traditional coaching no longer works. Now, I'm going to share with you some facts, some studies, different things like that over the course of the presentation for the next 45 minutes or so, and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you'd like to ask at the end of it also. But essentially, my role in sport today in my business, Athlete Assessments, I'm a director and founder of that business, is to enhance the quality of the coach-athlete relationship. So what we're specifically talking about is the relationship that you as a coach have with whoever it is that you actually coach, regardless of their age, their level in the sport, what their goals are. But what we know about this relationship, how critical it is, are some of these key facts here. The coach-athlete relationship, as you can see there, is one of the most important influences on an athlete's performance. Now, I heard you before chatting about the various times that you want your athletes, your younger swimmers to aspire to. And it's an issue in every single sport, not just in our country, but in others as well, is that how do we keep these athletes engaged in their sport? Okay, how do we keep them motivated? Now, how do we meet their needs so that they want to be part of the sport that they started doing when they were young? Because we do know that we have a big dropout, don't we, in most sports between the ages, 13 to sort of 16. Kids just drop out. And what we know about the coach-athlete relationship is that it is a major motivating factor for kids and all athletes for that matter to want to participate in their sport. Now, I've been really, really fortunate because in my athletic career in rowing, I started at a school called Brisbane State High. Has anyone heard of State High? Okay, so you've heard about the rowing story then too. State High is not renowned as a rowing school. In fact, we haven't won the Head of the River, which is the major race at the end of the year. We have not won that race since 1939. And I had 2 goes at it. And despite the fact that I went to 4 Olympics and won 3 Olympic medals, I certainly wasn't able to change that, that record that we have. It still exists today. But what was great about my experiences at State High was the person who got me involved in the sport to begin with. When I was 13 years old, a Year 8 student, I vividly remember coming out into the playground at lunchtime, and a coach called Dennis Donnelly, he was the master of sport at the school, he walked up to me, he saw that I was tall, and he looked at me and said, "You'd make a great rower. I want to see you at the rowing club on the weekend on Saturday to learn to row." And pretty much with that, if you know Mr. Donnelly, he's not the type of coach that you'd argue with. You say, "Okay, Mr. Donnelly, I respect your thoughts," and away you go. I turned up on the weekend, and that was the start for me of what turned out to be a successful rowing career. However, having said that, I didn't win any races at school. From under 14, 15, I went from under 15 straight to rowing in the first 8 for 2 years. And in fact, in 1990, 2 years before the Olympic Games, we came last at the schoolboy Head of the River. So at State High, sure, we haven't won, but we haven't even come third for a long time. And so I came last, and I already had dreams of going to the Olympics. And I came off the water that day absolutely devastated because I'd put a lot of effort into it. The thing about coming last is that we actually trained hard. We did a lot of preparation. We left what I considered no stone unturned in our preparation, and we still came last. Now, you can do no preparation at all, right? You can just turn up on the day and come last. So, here we were, coming last at the Head of the River. I've come off the water. I was devastated. My head was down. Mr. Donnelly saw me, he walked straight over to me, he grabbed me, he took me aside, and he said, "Bo, I believe that you have the ability to do whatever you want to do in the sport of rowing." And that other athletes from State High, we have had Olympic rowers before, people winning medals from our school, and he said that you have the ability to do that if you want. And with those words, I, in 1992, got selected on the Olympic team, and I was the youngest ever athlete selected on the Australian Olympic team for rowing. I was 18, I had my 19th birthday after we finished competing. We were watching the 4x100 metre relay race at the Athletics Stadium. And it was a realisation of a dream that had burnt out for me until the words from Mr. Donnelly. So I've been really fortunate from an early age. And then through my rowing career, one of the other key influences in my life, not just my sport, was a guy called Tim McLaren. He's now the head coach of US rowing. Now, Tim coached me to 3 Olympic Games in 96, 2000, 2004, and we won medals each time. And Tim taught me the value of a great athlete-coach relationship, because he was more than just a coach. You guys had coaches like that? They teach you more than just the technique in the sport. They teach you about life, and that really is what today's presentation is largely about. Tim came to UTS Rowing Club. It was called Haberfield Club at the time. He came there in 1993. He had just coached in 1992 the men's double scull at the Olympic Games. They won a gold medal. It's quite possibly, it's certainly up there with the greatest gold medal victories Australia's had in any Olympic sport. These two guys were they were the smallest guys in the race. They were racing guys my size, so I'm 2 metres tall and 100 kilos. The other competitors, you'll always recognise the photo, because when they're standing on the dais receiving their gold medal, they have their arms up here like this, because the Dutch and the other team, the Austrians I think it was, they're my size, and they got their arms up here like this. So the photo sort of goes down like that and up, except the ones in the middle have got the gold medal. Tim was recruited to coach at UTS Haberfield Rowing Club. At the time, we didn't have any representatives on the Olympic teams, Australian or national teams. They gave him the specific goal in 1993. Australia had just been, or Sydney has just announced as the 2000 Olympic city. They said, Tim, your role is to get one athlete from our club selected on the 2000 Olympic team. By the time Tim resigned from UTS in 2005, we had more than 30 athletes selected on various Olympic teams over 3 Olympiads. And so guys, today the presentation is about these things. It is about the coaching challenge. Because I know all of you have challenges, right, as coaches, would you agree? Yep. Coaching would be easy if it wasn't for the athletes, right? What traditional coaching means, how athlete-centered coaching is different, the characteristics of an expert coach, and then I want to give you some critical tips to improve your coach-athlete relationship by way of your communication skills, because that's really what we do a lot of. I spend my time these days working with coaches in the States and around Australia and in New Zealand and other places, helping coaches better understand themselves and helping coaches better understand the athletes that they're coaching, because if that relationship is fantastic, which it can be, then great results follow for everyone. And I'm not talking about a win-loss record. What we know about motivation and motivational theory is that you can't motivate your athletes. What do you think about that? You cannot motivate them. It's that old story about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it. Exactly. So what can we do? We can create the type of environment and we can be the type of coach that our athletes find motivating. And why this is so critical is that when athletes are intrinsically motivated, what does that mean, intrinsically motivated? From deep within, right? Okay. When they are intrinsically motivated, research shows that athletes, okay, high levels of concentration, they're more persistent, they perform better. And so our role as a coach, and where today being an athlete-centered coach is you being able to provide the type of environment and to be the type of coach, communicate to your athletes in the way they need to be communicated to, understand the impact that you as a coach are having on them. Because if you can do those things, you create the type of place where your athletes want to turn up.